Hola, whizzy wizzy wizards, and welcome back to the Pursuit of Happiness with me, Pigtail Girl, your friend and fellow wizard. So today's little discussion between us friends is about the ongoing Elon Trump saga. I thought I had to weigh in on that. Well, what do I think about it? Well, what I try to do in my life is not judge people too quickly based on a few things that they might believe in that I don't believe in. As an example, I've tried not to judge Elon based on the fact that he might be into chips in the head because, I don't know where someone's coming from. And I know people say, oh, mark of the beast. And of course, I don't really want a chip in my head. But at the same time, I know that for some people who can't walk and who are paralyzed, that technology might be something they'd be interested in. So again, I don't really base my beliefs on any religious dogma either. I'm not really into the Bible as the cornerstone of my beliefs. If you watch my channel, where I stand on Abrahamic religions and where I believe they come from. So I'm not going to go too far into that right now. But yeah, so I try not to judge people immediately like, oh, this person supports Israel, oh, boo, because I know there's some certain agendas going on that to do with Zionism. Therefore, I'm going to jump to the conclusion that that person's in that group either. So, and I'm talking about Trump there. So I try to not jump always to conclusions. I like to take things step by step, watch people what they do. Do they learn? Do they change? I know the older generation has very different views to the new generation, and I wasn't there 80 years ago, 75 years ago to know the climate that created someone's thought patterns. So part of my Zen wizard nature is I try not to always just jump to conclusions about people. I do need to see a certain amount of evidence about someone to make me jump to sweeping conclusions that everyone's just in this same boat and that's that. I think I've spoken about that in some other videos here as well about Trump and Israel. So, and I might have mentioned that, my dad supported Israel. Many people did. So, anyway, I try not to jump to conclusions. But when I'm looking at Trump versus Elon, when I'm looking at who has the most sort of suspicious things about them, it has to be Elon Musk because I'm going to insert some images into this video to do with his mother. And, well, some of us know about this and the M to the letter K to the ultra and how families have that. And I have often wondered if Elon Musk isn't involved in that type of situation. I must say, I've pondered it because of all the images of him and his mother and certain things that I will insert here. And so, if I look back through Trump's life, though, I don't sort of find all those types of images. The only thing that's doing the rounds is the link to Epstein, but I looked into that immediately when it came out. And again, rich people lend other rich people things like jets to schmooze up to them. So, I know how it is in rich circles. I've mingled in those rich circles. I got a good view into it when I was younger. And I know a little bit about how it goes there and how people schmooze and lend people stuff. But I do remember that Trump sort of cut off ties with Epstein quite a long time ago. And had there been anything to that story, we would have really already heard about it. But what we've seen is the mainstream media, every time they mention Epstein, they keep just trying to associate him with Trump. No one else, just Trump. And this is the same mainstream media that covered up everything to do with eating pizza, if we remember those days. And another thing is Elon. I've mentioned this on X. I don't really use X that much, to be honest with you. It's not really my thing. But I mentioned him. Well, if he cares that much about what's going on in the world, he should turn all of those X files that was then Twitter public again. The ones that we saw, the ones that were there at ground zero when it all came out, who had the time to go and look at certain Twitter accounts and see some of the very incriminating images that were on them, and but that were then turned to private or wiped. Now, I'm sure that that is stored somewhere in a memory. If he cares so much about the Epstein files coming out, why isn't he also showing those Twitter accounts to the public? Because that's a really big part of the story. Because there were some really hinky things going on over there. So it's like, Elon, well, why you're saying these things now after you've got a black eye as well? Let's remember the black eye ritual. Now, recently he appeared at the Oval with the black eye, and suddenly, as he left the Oval and his term came to an end there, he suddenly turns on Donald Trump in Twitter, like very childishly and very unprofessionally, because, those sorts of things should really be discussed man to man. And so, of course, he's using his platform now. And then when you look at the other images I showed with his mother and, some of his background and the fact that he likes chips in the head and the fact that, well, he's doing it all now after he got that black eye, it starts to look a bit like a bit of a funny story. Now, I don't have all the answers. I'm just telling you as I see it. Whereas Donald Trump, he doesn't have all those things in his background. And even the lawyer or attorney of Epstein has gone public on Twitter saying that he spoke to Epstein and Epstein confided in him that he had nothing on Donald Trump. Because if you look at Donald Trump, yeah, he's been a bit of a playboy in his past. And, most guys, as I found out when I was 17, 18, rich guys really like 17, 18-year-old girls. And in London, the age of consent is 16. So it's not actually illegal to date 17, 18-year-old girls. And you find very wealthy men are often attracted to youth. They're often attracted to that. So, yeah, I mean, of course, Donald Trump, when he was young, when he talks about young women, he's talking about 17, 18, 19-year-olds. He's not talking about children and he's not talking about anything like that. And he just doesn't have that thing about him. He's a man. And, he doesn't seem, like those, the pizza ones, they have a certain toady look about them. It's like you can look at them and they just have this look. I mean, a friend of mine, I won't say her name on here, but she married this guy. And when I saw his photo, she seemed so happy. And, I'm not someone to rain on someone's parade, but he looked like a nonce. And that was my first thought. I looked at him and I thought, oh, he looks a bit like a nonce, though. He's got that look. And they got married. And then after, she found out somehow through a certain sequence of events that he'd installed secret cameras in the bathroom and throughout the house and were filming his wife and her young daughter doing things, naked things, having baths and stuff like that, and having, sex, and then uploading them onto websites for men to watch. And he ended up, when it all came out, he actually took his own, he unalived himself. So it's like when I say like nonces have a look, they have a look like, and I'm going to say that Biden has that look, and Podestas have that look, and so my conclusion is, I trust. I should nod yes. I trust Donald Trump much more than I trust Elon Musk. When I just look at the face value of it all and the surface value of it all, who looks like they're most into the sort of weird things is definitely Elon. And who looks like he genuinely cares about his country and he's trying to sort things out is Donald Trump. And again, I can't ever expect myself to agree with every single thing about a person. I'm not that naive or childish anymore that I think everyone has to be like me and think everything exactly the way I do for them to gain any respect from me. Everyone disagrees somewhere on something, and you can't make everyone happy all of the time. So that's how I sort of feel about Donald Trump. And if you see, since my last video, he's even doing a little bit of a 180 on Israel. It feels to me like he's someone that when he gets new information brought to him, he changes his opinion, which to me is a sign of intelligence. What's not a sign of intelligence is when you don't change your opinion when new information comes to you. So, he's really even been reaching out to all the Arab nations. He's been doing a lot of good work out there in the world. And the people in Gaza were chanting his name and are now huge Trump supporters, it seems. So when I actually look at like who's doing good in the world and who's just mouthing off on Twitter, I mean, I think to me, it's quite obvious whose camp I'm in right now. And yeah, I feel like Elon was just a bit of a sleeper agent in there, and that he may be involved in certain groups to be triggered at the right moment to try to affect Donald Trump and his presidency. So that's my thoughts on those things. And you just look at Donald Trump, what a good family man he is. I mean, yeah, I mean his family's not perfect. Yes, he's had different wives, but all his kids look very well adjusted, and he seems to be a good father that they all respect. Whereas Elon Musk doesn't really seem to be that much of a good man, because he's got his autism or his bipolar, or he's got his mental issues. And of course, those sorts of kids are very much looked for when they're looking to do the mindy controlies on certain people. They're just like perfect targets for those sorts of situations. So, he may well be one of those ones under that system. So what else was there something else I felt I wanted to say? Yeah, I wanted to also mention, this also comes up a lot, Donald Trump's connection with Jared and this building with 666 on it. Now, I watched a very good documentary recently by Robert Sefer, or Sepper, I think you pronounce his name. I will put a link to it in the description box below so you can go and have a look. He makes some really good documentaries. Again, I don't always agree with every single point he ever makes. I never will with anyone. No one's going to agree with every single point I ever make. And that's good to think for yourself. I appreciate people with strong opinions that think for themselves, no matter what they come up with, as long as you're thinking for yourself and actually doing research and really questioning things, then you're on the right path. But he made this really good documentary showing that building 666 and even the number 666 is directly linked to the goddess. And on that building, it has the upside down triangle, which is the symbol of the goddess. 666 was classically the number of Aphrodite and the goddesses. It comes from the goddess schools. And one of the missing secrets that we have as the plebs is this, the pillars of creation. We can see it on the tarot cards of the architects, the people who are into the mystery schools, who actually know what's up. No, it comes down to the divine masculine, divine feminine. It's the two pillars we see, the black pillar and the white pillar, black and white. That's why we see the black and white checkered floor in the Freemasonry. The black and white is symbolic of the architects of this reality, which is the masculine and feminine, the black being the feminine, the white being the masculine. Now, the goddess and the feminine was wiped out of our spirituality and a lot of our belief systems. And that was done on purpose to install a patriarchy, to destroy the feminine intuition, so that the mind control could begin by the Elohim, this group who brought us the Abrahamic religions. And so certain things had to go underground into mystery schools, where it was kept alive through symbology and through secret teachings. And this is really encoded into the tarot cards, which is why I love tarot and why I meditate with the tarot. And I like to look at the symbology of the tarot, because the two things for manifestation that you need to use is not just the light, it's the black, it's the dark as well. And I want to do a whole video on how to utilize the black of the divine feminine to manifest, and how you can sow seeds in the sacred womb and then water them with the light of the Father to make them grow and to turn them into things. And if you're missing the black, if the black is evil, if the black is sin, if the black is all of this negative stuff, which it isn't, then you're denying the divine feminine, because the black is not the evil. The evil comes from misuse of the light. The light is what creates the evil, because it's the misuse of the doing of the light. The light is the doing, the black is the absorbing, is the receiving. So the idea even that we associate black to evil, black magic, dark things, everything related to evil is dark. Left used to be sin, the left side being the divine feminine side, relating to the right side of the brain, which is the feminine side of the brain. It's been encoded into our language. Now that building that people like to say, oh, 666 devil worship, 666 is not the number of anything evil. 666 is a power number, the 3, the 6, the 9, controlling creation, and it's directly related to the goddess. And that building has many things built into it that seem to be representing the divine feminine. So when I say I research things, I look into things, I don't just take them at face value. This is what I mean. I don't just see the number 666 and a Jewish guy linked to it and go, oh my God, Satanism, which a lot of people do. That's where their research will end. This is why I say I give people the benefit of the doubt. I do my research. I look into things. If 111 is a power number, if 888 is a power number, 666 is also a power number. 369 is to do with vortex mathematics. Now, I don't know if Tesla was really into those numbers or not, because I can't find that quote about the 369 actually being, sourced from Tesla. But I'm sure that there's something to it, because I have myself, through meditation, made peace and connection to the number 666. And I always teach my daughter, there's no such thing as an evil shape, and there's no such thing as an evil number, and there's no such thing as an evil color. The evil is an action. It's a doing, that you do something that is considered harmful to other life forms and other beings. And again, evil is perspective. What is good for the fly is not good for the spider, and vice versa. The spider's web would be considered evil by the fly. So again, evil is a whole, it's all to do with your perspective from where you sit and you observe from, in the greater scheme of things. So anyway, my loves, that's some of my thoughts on it. You can check out the Robert Sepper video that I'm referring to in the description box down below. So I am ending on 1 yes, Team Trump, 0 Team Elon, and I will see you on the next episode of The Pursuit of Happiness. One love.